Well, good evening from Northern Kentucky this March 13, 8 p.m. It's going to be a little snowy, they say tonight, but we're missing the worst of the big snowstorm. Well, I'm Ken Ham, president of Answers in Genesis, the Creation Museum, and the Ark Encounter. And tonight we're live streaming for you a 2-hour walk through the life-size Ark with myself and Bill Nye. Before the Ark Encounter was opened in 2016, I publicly invited Bill Nye to come and visit the Ark Encounter, and I told him I would give him a personal tour. Well, he took us up on that, but he said he would come with his video crew. So we said, okay, we know what you want to do. You want to get excerpts for a documentary that you're actually producing and your Netflix series. So that's okay, as long as we can have our video crew there. And he agreed to that. And so we had 2 video crews follow us around. We started on the 3rd deck, which is where he wanted to start, because he wanted to immediately talk about climate change. And then we walked through all 3 decks, and we had a group of people. There were a number of people there that day, and young people, quite a large number of young people, actually, that followed us through the 3 decks. And so as we go through, you'll hear Bill Nye say all sorts of interesting things, and I challenge him, and we have this back and forward. We go head to head. It was cordial, but it was lively. I was able to present the gospel to him, but we want you to see the uncut video where I walk through the Ark with Bill Nye. And this happened on July 8th, the day after the Ark Encounter was opened to the general public. Enjoy this 2-hour walkthrough. To start down here, just walk up onto the 1st deck and just walk up to the 3rd deck.
Okay.
So then you get to see all the exhibits and all the way up and just give you...
One by one going up?
Yep.
Okay. Would it be okay if we started on the 3rd and went down to the 1st?
Well, we could do, but it's sort of in order if you go 1, 2, 3.
Okay. So up to Bill. You want to do 1, 2, 3 or 3, 2, 1?
And the thing is, I think we're going to do a sit down afterwards.
Where is the sit down deck?
In the 3rd deck.
Okay. I'm honestly fine with anything. Okay. We really want to do the 3rd.
Yeah, you guys scoped it out.
Sorry? Oh, you want to fix it? Go for it.
Do you mind if we go to the 3rd first?
Well, we could do. It's just we've got to come down and come all the way back up. That's all. It's just...
Can we take the elevator back up to get up to the 3rd? Because we were, Jason and I got a chance to look through, and we loved the top 4 exhibits the most. And there's even an exhibit with Bill. So we thought that we could start up there. Is that all right?
So you want to go 3, 2, 1?
That's okay.
Okay.
Man, this lighting is so insane.
But we want this hidden.
Did you get that on sound? I want to record a lightning effect for you.
While we're at it, I'm going to change batteries if we have the time. So let me take your receiver here.
Well, we need to go up in the elevator.
I don't have any tape or anything.
Here, I got.
So can you go get the elevator ready?
Yeah, that's fine.
We only have 1 elevator working right now. The big freight elevator's still not connected up.
Okay.
Well, that was a nice cracker. Oh, I can see the light. I looked on the radar. Once this goes through, there's nothing behind it. That was especially for you, Bill.
That was me. I get behind on my email sometimes.
I'm way behind this week in my emails.
Okay, we're ready.
All right.
Oh, we're ready, but I'm not sure he is. They are.
So we'll take the elevator to the 3rd and then
Yeah,
work our way
okay.
back.
So, Ben, if you want to look after getting the elevator for us.
So we're really
Ready to
rolling.
go? Go on the
So, Mr. Ham, are these chines for stability?
Yeah. It's built with 3 keels because we had an architect who's involved
There's a
in marine
concrete
engineering.
shell, right?
No, that's real. They're concrete piers. They go down to
I know,
actually
but
solid rock.
There's a shell above this.
Oh yeah.
Like, in other words, Mr. Ham, this ship is not seaworthy, is it? What do you,
Oh, we didn't
what do you
build.
say to kids? Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't build it to float because there's never going to be another global flood. So
How do you know that?
It was designed as a ship, but built as a building. So how do I know that? Well, on the basis of the Bible. I know I believe the Bible is God's word, and I know you don't, but on the basis of the Bible,
3.
after the flood, God said there'll never be another global flood again. Been lots of local floods, but not global.
When did he, where does it say that?
Genesis chapter 10. Oh, sorry, Genesis chapter 9. God said there's a covenant between him and man and him and the animals, and the rainbow was the sign of that covenant, that there would never be another flood as the one that he sent.
So, rainbows, what makes a rainbow? Would there be rainbows without that covenant?
Oh, yeah, I think the rainbow, it doesn't say that that's when God made the rainbow, it just says that the rainbow was to be a sign. In other words, anytime you see a rainbow, it's to be a reminder. In other words, a reminder that there'll never be another global flood. So yeah, a rainbow would exist when you have the right amount of
will we
light.
see a rainbow today?
Will we see a rainbow today? We might. Once the sun is seen through the clouds there, you never know, we might.
You might, but when it's the middle of the day, the sun's high, and you seldom get that directed angle to create a rainbow. Once in a while. Careful, careful. Yeah. So what goes on here in the Ice Age?
Well, one of the things that we're talking about is the Ice Age was generated by the flood. In other words, you know, those who believe in evolution actually believe in
I'm sorry,
ice
so
ages.
your claim is that there was an Ice Age 4,000 years ago?
The Ice Age was back towards the flood.
What do you
yeah.
base that on?
What do we base that on? Well, as you know...
Here we have evidence for this.
Yeah.
What's the evidence for that?
No, we don't have evidence for that. That's an interpretation. You can't find ice that has labels on it.
Yes, you can.
Labels?
Absolutely.
That say, I'm 300,000
Yes.
years old? Oh,
Yeah, sir, you're a science
never,
educator.
I've never seen one of those. Where do you see one of those?
You count neutrons and oxygen atoms. That's how it's done.
Yeah, but
it's as though it has a label on it. Very much.
But it doesn't say I'm 300,000 years old.
Not in English, no.
No, you have to interpret it on the basis of certain assumptions, right? You have assumptions.
Certain discoveries.
No, assumptions. I mean,
Let's go with discoveries.
no, let's
Go
go.
ahead.
Let's
Go ahead. How do you get an ice age
let's-
4,000 years ago?
Let's go with assumptions, because whenever you're interpreting the past, you have to have certain basic assumptions about elements that were there and rates of change and all that sort of thing.
So you're saying, is this your observational science and historical science?
Oh, absolutely.
So what
It's
are
not,
you,
it's
so
not
go
my
ahead.
observational science, historical science.
So explain this. There, in my opinion, in my view, there's no evidence for an ice age 4,000 years ago.
Let me ask you a
Pyramids
question.
full-
Did you want to walk through the Ark, or do you just want to come up here and attack our beliefs?
Well,
Because I did
Whichever
promise,
you like, sir.
I did promise you a walk through the Ark.
Okay.
And I know you want to head to the third floor because our teaching exhibits are here. But let me explain here. Actually, creationists have a mechanism for an ice age, because after the flood, you got warm water, cool land, a lot of evaporation. You're going to have a mechanism for an ice age. What's your mechanism for ice ages? Because you would believe in ice ages, right? I mean, different ice ages over hundreds of thousands of years.
the eccentricity of the Earth's orbit?
Yeah, but I mean, you know, you're looking at that. You're looking at the Earth's orbits now, but what's your mechanisms for the different
Well,
ice
we
ages?
look at what the Earth was doing 300,000 years ago.
But you can't look at that. You can only see the Earth now.
Yeah, but you can see evidence of the past.
Well,
So-
we see evidence in the present
So where
of
do you
past
draw the line?
processes.
This is what everybody wonders about your
Okay.
worldview.
Okay.
Where do you draw the line between what you can observe directly and what you can infer?
Well, I know that.
If you come into a room and a window's open, do you presume that no one opened it because you weren't there to watch them open it?
Well, the thing
If you
is,
see ice in a glass, do you presume it got there in the last few seconds because you weren't there to see the freezer created?
you know.
It's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary worldview. Go ahead, lead on.
Okay, so you don't want answers.
Sure, go ahead.
You just want to make statements without
Go
answers.
ahead.
You know, come on, we can have a friendly talk about these
Go
things. You know, you come up here in attack mode, Bill. Come on, let's not attack each other.
Go ahead.
Let's just be friendly. And I know you have a different worldview to me. And you know, when it comes to something like ice cube in a cup, I mean, we live in the present world and we've experienced those things. We've experienced ice cubes and we have cups, and that's something that's within our life's experiences, and it's very easy to infer that somebody put that ice in that cup. But when it comes to talking about the past when we weren't there and things we didn't experience, that's very different. And that's where we need to have an understanding of the difference between interpretation and what you actually observe in the present and have had experience with.
So let's talk about this again. What makes you think this was 4,000 years ago?
What makes us think that that was 4,000 years ago? Well, first of all, we take the chronology in the Bible, and that chronology in the Bible is that Noah's flood was about 4,300 years ago. And so that gives us a date at the end of the flood. Then we look at the evidence that we have today of the fact that we know that there was ice in the past. We know there were glaciers in the past that advanced because we see the evidence in the present. You can actually see
What
it.
evidence do we see?
Oh, glacially carved valleys.
But you weren't there to see those glaciers.
No,
carve
that's
themselves.
true. That's true. We weren't.
You're okay with that, but you're not okay with
but
neutrons.
the difference with that is we can actually see what glaciers do. We've actually experienced what glaciers do, and we know the evidence that glaciers leave, and evidence of moraines, and evidence of the way they erode.
What
things.
about sedimentation rates? What about neutrons in the water?
Sedimentation rates? It all depends on circumstances. I mean, if you weren't there, I mean, something could be deposited very quickly that you look at today and think was deposited slowly. I mean, if you didn't see it happen.
That's where we disagree. If you didn't see it happen, means it didn't happen.
No, I'm not. No,
So
you're
I
implying
don't-
something that's not
I'm
true.
open-minded, but I don't see any evidence for an ice age 4,000 years ago. There are
Okay,
pyramids older than
you've got a lot of
4,000
young
years
people
ago.
here. How would you convince them that there were ice
It's
ages
actually,
over hundreds
Mr.
of
Ham,
thousands
that's my
of years?
biggest concern. Is the young
I
people.
tell you my biggest concern, that you're teaching generations of these young people that they're just animals, that they came about by natural processes. Aren't you teaching that humans are animals? Are we animals?
Yeah.
We're
We're
just
mammals,
animals?
breathe air.
Okay.
Isn't that good?
So all life is related,
Of course,
right?
there's a few of us.
from your
Seem like lizards.
From your perspective, all life is related?
Certainly.
Even plants? We're related to plants?
It's one of the fundamental discoveries in all of life
Okay,
science.
so we're related to plants?
Yes.
So we're related to a banana?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted
What makes you think we're not related to bananas? What evidence do you have that the DNA in bananas, the DNA in E. coli, the DNA in ancient cave bears, what evidence do you have that we're not related to them? Besides, just so we're clear.
Okay. Well,
As
do you,
soon
ha-
as you-
do
go
you have
ahead,
any?
go
Do you
ahead.
have any evidence that, well, as you know, all life is basically life is built on DNA, and DNA is an information system and a language system. So, do you have any evidence that matter produces a language system? Matter produces information. I mean, there are billions, trillions of bits of information in living systems. Can you testify to how information arose by natural processes?
Here we are.
That's it? That's your evidence?
Well, we'll start with the evidence and work backwards. What I think you're asking is the why.
Actually, you're not starting with evidence. You don't believe in God, right?
That aside, here's where we disagree.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this:
No,
do
hold on a second.
you believe life came about by natural processes?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got that belief. So you don't start with evidence; you start with the belief.
No, I claim I started with evidence to reach that belief.
Oh no, but you
Dude, let's look at some more of the exhibit.
you start with a belief in naturalism.
Well, you start with the belief in what?
Oh yeah,
what's your belief? What is your belief start
See,
with?
I admit my belief. My belief is that God's word is true,
So-
and that the history in God's word is true. And see, what we're talking about here, and this is the whole point that we're helping people understand. We all live in the present. We all have the same present evidence, but depending on your assumptions and how you approach your worldview, depends on how you interpret evidence in relation to the past. Because you believe everything happened by natural process, you don't believe the history in the Bible, right? In Genesis.
Well, not literally.
No, I do. And
obviously.
see, that's a big difference. So all I want you to do is admit that you have certain beliefs you start with.
My beliefs are based on evidence. I think
Not,
your
not your belief.
beliefs are
How
based
can you prove life arose by natural processes? How do you prove that?
We haven't proven it.
Well, then that's a belief.
Yes, but the explanation
so
that
you
you
start
provide is completely unreasonable to me. And unacceptable, and we reject it.
Unreasonable by whom?
Well, as soon as you go back in time,
You can't go back in time. We live in the present.
in your worldview, as soon as you produce a miracle, then you're not doing science.
Well, I'm
Tell
not,
us on the
I'm
outside.
not producing a miracle.
There's no such thing.
What do you mean by science?
So this is the most troubling thing you do, Mr. Ham. Climate change is the most serious problem facing humankind. And so by trying to convince young people that climate change is not real is very serious, because they're going to have to grow up and deal with it.
Actually, we're saying
The
climate
little
change
ice
is
age
real.
was a local phenomenon.
Bill, we're saying climate change is real.
So is it serious?
Climate change? What you have to do then is say, why have they changed? Climates change all the time.
Let me rephrase it for you. Human-caused climate change is very serious.
Well, there's a lot of debate about
this is
that.
the worst thing you
There's a lot of scientists who would disagree with that. In
It's
fact, we have
very, very
PhD
few.
scientists on our staff that would disagree with that. We have other PhD scientists.
Your scientists and your staff, as respectful as I can be, are incompetent. They're not good scientists.
Oh, you mean Dr. Nathaniel Jeanson, who has a
They're
PhD
just-
from Harvard University? He's incompetent? Dr.
From what I've seen on television, he is.
Watch this video.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, it's here? Oh, here we are.
Tell me, Dr. Georgia Purdom, who has a PhD in molecular genetics from Ohio State, she's incompetent?
Certainly seems to be.
Well, this is about, in the debate, you talked about it takes a long time for ice to be laid down, and this is an example where it doesn't take that long at all.
No, you're confusing ice with snow.
Antarctica.
Oh, yeah, I see.
We're using what we do.
Confused ice with snow.
We're using what we do in the,
So
what happens in the present.
everybody here, if you visit this place in Greenland, where 80 meters of 260 feet of snow accumulated, you will find the number of layers from 1942 to today. You will find the same number of layers. Okay, it won't be up to me. I didn't put the layers there. The process, which I think you don't fully accept, is as the layers get thicker and thicker, they crush down through a remarkable process called regelation. And you've done this yourselves when you make a snowball. You break the tines of the snowflakes, they release a little bit of heat, melt the water, and it gets harder and harder. And if you do it hard enough, long enough, the ice actually becomes clear. This is glacial ice. It absorbs red light and it looks blue. It's beautiful. So this is completely consistent with mainstream science. That the snow falls a lot here in this part of Greenland is not the same thing as counting the age of the Earth or the records of ice ages, the records of when unleaded gas was introduced by looking at the layers of snow. Mr. Ham, with respect, you completely misunderstand the point that you're trying to make.
No, Bill, I think you misunderstand the point. The point is, we actually know how long those layers took to be laid down. When you go and look at the layers of ice, when you bring up ice cores, you didn't see them being laid down. You weren't there at the beginning, and you make assumptions about the
So
layers.
you believe that there was a supernatural process that created the many layers that we observe?
Of course we don't.
670,000.
No,
No, but is that right? You
No.
believe that there was a supernatural process that created
Absolutely.
670,000 layers?
Absolutely not.
How did it happen?
They were laid down catastrophically. They were laid down quickly. They didn't
So
take...
there were-
In other words, when you make interpretations about each layer and how long it took to be laid down, that's your interpretation. And what we're saying is you can have multiple layers very, very quickly.
So
And we've seen
sounds
that in
like
the present. We've
sounds
seen
like
that in the
you're
present.
no. It sounds like you're cherry picking data.
No, one of cherry picking. That's just a good example. It's a great
So
example.
your claim is that there were 670,000 layers of snow laid down in, for example, Antarctica or Greenland or
Hey, look, you can get multiple layers in a day.
How many can you get in a
You
day?
can get multiple layers in a day, correct? I mean,
No.
you see.
No,
Yes,
no,
you
not
can.
like, no, sir. No.
You can
I
observe
challenge
it.
you on that.
You can observe that. Let me ask a question. All these young people here, you say if they're taught creation, it'll undermine technology, destroy technology, it'll destroy their science. Is that correct?
When you say destroy, you mean make Facebook not work? What do you mean?
Well, I'm asking you what you mean when you were at the debate and you said when you teach young people, children, you're going to have a major. When you teach young people, teach children creation, you're going to have a major problem in regard to technology and
In the
advances
future.
in technology.
Who wants to be an astronaut? Anybody?
And we find
Right on. Do you know we got a spacecraft in orbit around Jupiter
1,000 layers.
on July 4th?
How could it be?
So I was at Cape Canaveral, you guys, on August 5th, 2011. Here, let's move away from the sound. On August 5th, 2011, I was at Cape Canaveral. We launched a rocket that went out beyond the orbit of Mars, fell back toward the sun, went around the Earth, where it took an infinitesimal amount of energy from the Earth's orbit, then went out to Jupiter and approached Jupiter from the north.
That's great observational
On Monday,
science.
That spacecraft went in orbit around Jupiter. That's rocket science, everybody.
Yeah, and
That is
scientists,
fantastic.
engineers in the present use their 5 senses to be able to develop that technology. What's that got to do with origins?
The same process enables us to count layers of snow.
No, it
In
doesn't,
Antarctica.
because you're experimenting with the rockets in the present, the fuel, the structure of the rocket, the engineering. When it comes to looking at the layers that are already there, you weren't there to see them being laid down. That's the point.
Yeah, so how do you feel about forensics, Mr. Ham? How do you feel about the process that detectives use to determine what happened at a crime scene?
Oh, yeah.
If you weren't there and you didn't see how a guy got
Right,
killed,
and they have to interpret the evidence, and sometimes they get it wrong, actually. And those things are much closer in the present than when you're talking about way in the past, because it might have been a murder that happened yesterday, and so yeah, you can go in and look at the evidence.
So you're
but
saying-
scientists have been known, forensic
So-
scientists have put people in jail who've been innocent, correct?
I suppose. Yeah.
Because they made the wrong interpretation.
But
because
they've
they didn't
also
have all the
arrested
evidence.
a lot of people based on very good science.
Yeah, based on
So-
science in the
so-
present. In
so-
other words, you can test for blood and say, this is blood.
So this is
You
where
can
we
test-
disagree. Everybody, this is where we disagree. This is where Mr. Ham and I disagree on the nature of evidence.
Oh no, the evidence is all the same. It's not
So
the nature of
when
evidence.
we find people on the outside
It's the nature of
find
interpretation,
layers of
Bill.
snow that are this thick because they're crushed down by 670,000 years of snow, we interpret it as real. The snow actually fell 670,000 years ago. The number of neutrons.
Where's the
this
label
is how-
saying it's 670,000?
The neutrons
I don't want you leading these young people astray. Where's
so
the label saying it was 670,000
in the
years?
neutrons and
Where-
in the
where-
layers themselves.
How would they see 670,000
You
years? How
would
do they
count
see
the
it?
layers. You would go to the Ice Core Lab
Okay.
in Golden, Colorado. We've been there.
And
And
as
you look
you
at a block of ice that's been drilled out of the ice in
and you
Greenland.
count the layers, and what do you
and
do with
count the
each
layers.
layer? How do you get the 670?
That's how many thousands of layers there are in certain of the cores.
But what are you assuming about the layers? Was there one a year, or what
Yes,
are you assuming?
sure.
But how do you know? But
How do we know that? By careful measurement.
that's the very point of the example
No,
that
no,
we have
by
here.
careful
is that,
measurement.
no, you can see many
Furthermore,
layers.
you can do
know what?
this.
Some of these people are from states where they get massive snow and ice storms, and I've actually seen the layers in the snow. Have you
We're
seen
not
the layers
talking
in
about
the
the
snow?
same thing.
Yeah, it is.
Have you seen them? Have you seen them crushed down to where they're clear?
When it rains on top of the snow, they do.
Yeah, but in Antarctica,
And,
it's
and
seldom
multiple
rains.
layers, and multiple layers form.
So you guys, I want you to evaluate my claim that when there's 670,000 layers in a core of ice, there are 670,000 years associated with that.
no,
compare that
you got to
with
tell them
his
where you
claim.
get the years from. Where do you get the
Oh
years
no,
from?
I say they'll evaluate it for themselves. You don't have to take my word for it.
Okay,
You're not taking the
have you
word.
seen layers for multiple layers?
Yeah. I would like to know your opinion though. Like what are the years? Like what do you think they are? Is it every layer is one
So
year?
when you guys see these particular pieces of ice I'm talking about, and there's a building in Golden, Colorado, where we keep them, it's minus 36 Celsius. Everybody who works there puts on a big hood, big parka to go inside and work. You can see where the snow is crushed down. The tines of snowflakes break, release a tiny bit of heat, which makes it melt ever so slightly. And they turn this distinctive clear color. You can look at when unleaded gas was in use and when leaded gas was in use. You can see the chemicals in the snow. You can infer the temperature of the sea surface by the number of neutrons in the water. You evaluate my way of looking at it and compare it with his. My way of looking at it is from the outside.
Here's what I want to do for the young people. I actually want to teach them how to think correctly. And that is, you have these layers in the present, and you weren't there to see them being laid down. You don't know how many storms there were. You don't know how many
But how would you
times there
figure
were-
out how many storms there were?
Ah, well, that's the point. That's it.
Well, there's
Bill,
a way
that's
to do
exactly-
it.
That's exactly, no.
It's his way, which I understand comes from a scripture, right?
No.
Don't you think that there've been such like fluctuating climates and stuff that it's hard to know
But we
exactly
infer
how
that
constant
also.
it
We
is.
figure that out also. That's
So kind
our
of
business.
it's everyone's guess then? Kind of everyone has a separate
I
guess?
wouldn't use the word guess. Everybody understands
how
that on the
about-
outside,
how about-
97% at least of the world's scientists are very concerned about climate change. On the outside.
No, you just
Caused by humans.
Hey, Bill, you just swapped subjects. Let's get
No,
back
it's
to
of a piece.
No,
that
let's
we discovered ancient climates and what it used to be like by looking at these same cores of ice, these same pieces of ice.
But are you really discovering ancient climates, or are you just discovering what's there in the present and you're interpreting as ancient climates? It could have been different conditions in the 1 year.
Very, very skeptical. There's absolutely no way, in my view, that you could have that many conditions in 1 year and nobody noticed. Mr. Ham, there are trees older than you believe the Earth is.
How do you know that?
Mr. Ham,
Well,
because we count tree rings.
But-
Mr.
wait,
Ham,
wait,
there are
wait.
pyramids, there are
Wait a minute, wait a
human-built
minute.
structures older than
No,
the stuff you are
get back,
showing
let's
you.
get back to the tree rings. We want these people
Just-
to understand.
So what we all
Let-
wonder about you.
No, let's get back to the tree rings.
Let's talk about
Okay,
tree
let's get
rings.
back to tree rings. So when you're counting those rings, you assume one growth period a year?
Most of the time,
How do you know that?
we've looked at
Because-
a lot of trees.
Yeah, and we've actually seen trees that can
Millions
have multiple.
of trees.
We've actually seen trees that can have multiple growth rings. It
Okay, have you seen trees
It
that
depends
have
on.
thousands of tree rings?
Oh yes, absolutely. And you when you put
No,
them.
I mean really.
And we, of course, we've actually got.
So when you get out
Sections through
there, when you
trees
get
with
out
tree
in the
rings.
world, compare his claim to my claim. My claim is that you can count the years from tree rings. You can infer
let me ask
how
you.
many plants were
Okay,
here
in front of all
pollen
these
by
young
the
people, let me
pollen.
ask you this: do you know?
Okay, let's move on.
No. Do you know 100% for sure that it was one ring a year? Do you know 100%
You're
for sure?
cherry picking a datum.
do
you
you
can
know-
tell the difference between rings.
No.
Sometimes there's a wide ring, sometimes there's a narrow
There
ring.
can be, and you have to
And
put
scientists who study
you have to put
this
trees
take that into
together, and
account.
you have to look at those.
You're working
and
real
you
hard,
assume where
Mr.
the
Ham.
rings overlap.
You're working very hard. Carry on. Lead on.
No.
Yes, sir.
You took all this time to study all this, and you don't believe, right, in God.
I didn't say that. I
Okay.
do not believe the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Okay.
That's a very different thing.
But you do believe.
in God?
I just don't want to discuss that. I think
Okay.
it's distracting.
But you do believe.
We're talking about the claim that there was a worldwide flood and all the plants in the world were under salt water for a full year.
Well, hang on.
That there's a claim that somehow pyramids older than 6,000 years exist and were not washed away. That somehow there are 670,000 layers of ice from 670,000 years of snowfall and nobody noticed.
Okay, you just
Is
made.
the only
You
thing you
just
go
made
by
those.
the dating of today? Because if that's
We go by
That's-
all of it, the pollen grains, the tree rings, the ice layers.
The tree
And
ring-
the
the
other
tree rings are
fundamental
like
thing,
ice
everybody,
layers.
we have very accurate records of how much carbon dioxide people have put in the air.
Do you
Hey, you know what's interesting?
carbon dating is
I
completely
promised
accurate,
Bill
though?
to
So
give him a
don't-
walk through the
don't
ark, and he came up
confuse
here and
or
just
keep
tried
straight.
to attack me.
Keep straight
And
both
attack what we're doing
carbon
here.
dating, which goes back a few hundred and sometimes 1,000 or so years, with radioactive dating, which
that?
goes back billions of years.
So tree
go ahead,
rings.
attack.
Tree rings. You don't know it was one ring a year.
Sometimes it's a little different.
Okay, but you agree that it could be more than one ring a year because you could have more than one growth period a year. That's
That I don't know. I'm not
oh
an
yeah,
expert
you
on
can.
Okay, I'll
We've
take
seen
your
that.
word for it.
If
I'll finish
climates,
my thing
if,
right here, then I'll get out of your face.
I like it. Bring it on.
Well, no, you spent all this time, your adult life, researching all this and everything.
Yeah.
So why don't you just take the time, look at the creation that's here,
I have taken the time.
and God created that. He created man in his own image.
That could be, but I'm skeptical.
You're skeptical. Just take the time and have faith and spend the rest of your
Well, see,
life
here's the problem.
wondering about that.
No, here's the problem, you guys. As soon as you go back in time, as soon as you have any process of reasoning that requires a miracle, then it's not science. Then you've departed from something.
Your belief doesn't require your belief doesn't require any miracles.
No miracle.
No miracles.
No.
you
so
think it
everything
just
happened. No, everything happened
the
by
word just
natural
happened.
processes.
The other big problem that we disagree on.
So everything happened by natural processes,
Yes,
right?
as far as we can tell.
So everything, the universe, all life happened
Well,
by
see, we
natural
don't know.
processes.
Here's another difference we have, I think.
Okay.
When I find out that there was a Big Bang, Edwin Hubble discovered the stars moving apart from each other in 1927 or so. I go, that's astonishing, that's amazing. I am part of this universe, and yet I have the ability to understand this little bit of it. That's amazing.
Mr. Knight.
And hang on, let me finish this one paragraph. So when I find out that I don't know what there was before the Big Bang, or what it even means to ask the question, what was there before the Big Bang, I'm excited. That's fantastic. There's more to learn. There's another amazing discovery to be made.
Do you think you have a
Whereas
soul?
other people are very troubled by that.
Do you think you have a soul?
Okay, let's walk down here.
Can I just ask?
Let's just walk down.
I can't tell. I don't
Okay.
know.
What if you miss it all?
I don't think I will. So I don't think I know. I
Can I
think.
just say, speculation, pure
Please,
speculation.
yeah.
What would the evidence look like if there was a full Earth flood?
I don't know. I've
Hey,
never seen it.
hey,
I've
Bill.
never seen anything like it.
We can speculate.
Bill,
Or-
can I
I've never seen any
Can I
evidence
ask
at
you-
all to suggest it.
Can I ask you one question? Okay, you talk a lot, and that's great. But can I ask you one question that I really want to understand? If you promise you'll answer it.
Well, but I'm not going to necessarily give you an answer you want, yes or no, to tree rings and years
I'm
and
not
stuff.
talking about it. In your worldview, when you die, what happens to you?
You're done.
You're done. So
And
what?
if that turns out not to be true, that would be very exciting.
Okay, but if you say you're done, so you won't even know you're ever here.
Apparently not.
So then, why do you care what we're doing here? Why do you care about climate change? Why do you ultimately? Because ultimately, when all these people die, they're done, and nothing has any ultimate purpose. So why does it matter? Why does it matter ultimately?
So let's be clear.
Okay.
What we do is make more people. What organisms do is reproduce.
But still, when they die, they're done. So why does it
So
matter?
my claim-
Why does it matter ultimately?
My claim is that not only your size and shape, number of fingers, eye color, and so on, is a result of the main idea in all of biology, evolution. Not only is evolution the main idea in biology, but what you feel is also a result of evolution.
But why does that matter if you're done when you die? I mean, why does it ultimately matter? Everyone's done. They won't even know they're here. Why?
You're
does this-
asking fundamental existential questions. This is great, Mr. Ham.
But why?
The idea is to pass your genes on to the future.
But they're going to die and be done too. So
But
why
they'll
does-
become, maybe they'll achieve great things and inspire us. Maybe
then
they'll
that-
find out what happened before the Big Bang.
What does it matter
Maybe
if
they'll
they-
determine whether or not the core of Jupiter is hydrogen acting like a metal, or if it's really metal.
And why does that matter to them when they're done?
Because maybe we will discover a new source of energy that will power the whole world based on this new physics.
And why does that matter when they're done?
Because what we do is live. The meaning of life is to live and pass your genes on.
Okay, you
and
live
have
now,
more
pass your
people.
genes on, and then you die, you're done. I still don't understand why.
So why would you leave the world worse than you found it?
I mean, if
That's
you,
my question.
Well-
Why would you be obsessed with teaching people that humans are not causing climate change? Why would you take a book's word for it when you could discover the world for yourself?
Actually,
That's the mystery to
humans
me.
did cause climate change because we sinned against a holy God, and now we live in a sin-cursed
Okay,
universe.
so, I've spent some time in Japan last year. They don't have any tradition like that. What's wrong with them?
Actually, there are cultures all over the world that do have such traditions.
Well, but not the one I spent a lot of time with.
Some people.
And before they eat, they thank the people that created the meal because they
Well,
because they like
it's interesting
people.
they even thank people. I mean, there's remnants of Christian thought all over
That's an
God's word
extraordinary
all
claim.
over the culture. But I still want to know, when we're all done, everyone's done here, why will our conversation even matter?
if we can empower a generation of young people to make scientific discoveries, to provide clean water, reliable electricity, and access to worldwide information to everyone in the world, that will be a very good thing.
But then they die and they're all done, so why did it matter for them?
Because they will pass their genes on and become some new thing.
But if when you die you don't even remember you were here because you know nothing, what's the purpose of living now anyway?
See, so this is the difference between him and me. I find it extraordinary and amazing that I get to live right now, at this time in the cosmos, and be part of this amazing system we call the universe.
Guess what? I do too. I find it extraordinary. And I know that the reason I'm here is because God created people.
I have another
He
fundamental
created-
question for
he-
you.
No, no, no.
No, this is related. No, this is related.
No, listen.
Noah's
listen to me
Ark
and
was
tell-
Old Testament. Right?
Listen to me and tell me why it's so extraordinary. Because, as the Bible says, it's so evident that there's God. I mean, you look at DNA, a language system, an information system. We never see evidence that came about by natural processes.
Well, I claim we do, so we disagree.
Oh, can you give me an example?
Example of what?
Matter producing information. There's billions of bits, zillions of bits of information on this. So can you give me an example of?
Well,
of matter
her, she's a
producing-
good example.
Yeah, she's here. But how did the information arise from matter?
We don't know. So
I
I
do.
find that extraordinary and exciting and wonderful.
I
We
do.
don't
In
know.
the beginning, God
That's
created.
science.
I think I know. I think that like I know that it all came from God.
In the beginning,
Okay,
God
I'm
created.
open-minded but skeptical. And so here's where we have difficulty.
I have a question for you. Why do you think that like most living things all have like a nose and 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth?
Welcome to our world. This is the main idea in all of biology, my dear. This is the fundamental idea in life science. It's evolution.
Okay, so if you
So
ever
this
see-
is welcome.
okay.
Welcome.
But can I say something?
Please.
If you've ever seen like paintings all by the same artist, they all look really similar, right?
I guess.
Yeah. So if we were all made by the same artist, how come we all have?
Okay,
the
but
same
what makes you say we were all made,
structures?
made by the same
Because
artist?
I believe that God created us all.
Okay, so in other words, you went back to a miracle. Do you see what I mean?
Well, so,
Yeah, but how,
As
No,
how,
but
could,
miracle
this,
is a Big
how
Bang.
could this not
Okay.
be a miracle? Like, how do you
Okay,
think
well,
you
so
could understand everything?
You said you can't explain how
So-
matter produces
But
information.
for me, that's exciting. Not proof that there is an entity.
and I
that-
think it's really exciting too that you can see how great and awesome this is.
It's astonishing. So you and I are made of the same material as exploded stars. So you and I are at least one of the ways the universe knows itself.
So you're saying that the stars created us?
So for us,
How is that any more or less? I mean, how
Well,
is
to us,
being
it's-
exploded by a star more believable
Okay.
than God could be?
Don't you have
so
don't you have a blind faith, Bill?
no.
Because you said
No,
everything
I've
came about by
observed it.
natural
I've
processes.
observed the stars moving apart.
Have you observed stars form people?
Not yet.
But
By
have-
the way, everybody,
but
you
have
are
they?
living at a time when it's very reasonable that we will find evidence of life on Mars or evidence of life on Europa, the moon of Jupiter, with twice as much
Hey, there was
seawater as the Earth.
There was just an article the other day where they now said, "Oh, I think it'll be another 1,500 years before we find
Well,
evidence."
I
of
disagree
life."
with that. I work at the Planetary Society, and we
Okay.
don't feel
But
that
they've
way.
been searching
Have
for
you seen-
years and they've never
what have
found
you
any
seen
evidence.
that does show that?
Say it again.
What have you seen that does like show proof?
Oh, well, so this year, last October, scientists are convinced that water flows on Mars every Martian summer. Water flows down. There's all this sub-sand ice on Mars. Everywhere we look on Earth, everywhere we look, and we find just even the little dampness, there's something alive.
But
So
do we find that
everybody-
on Mars?
So not yet. So everybody, if we were to discover evidence of life on Mars,
But we haven't.
does it has DNA?
But
Okay, one way we'll not
But-
find it, Mr. Ham, is to not look.
But-
that
but-
will guarantee us not finding it.
but it doesn't. You haven't found it though.
Not yet.
No, I just want to.
But we have very
make
reasonable
sure.
places to look.
But we
By
do
the way,
find-
the planetary science budget is about 1.6 billion.
But we do find
It's
evidence of life all over
it's
Earth, right?
9% of the NASA budget. It's less than a cup of coffee per taxpayer. Yet that's where we make these extraordinary discoveries. If we find life,
You did discover something?
not yet. That's why we want to build the next rover in 2020 to look,
They've
and the
been
one
looking.
after that in
They've been looking for
2022 and
years,
20
haven't they, for life in outer space?
Yeah, well, the space
And if I have a question.
space exploration is only 50 years old, Mr. Ham.
And if you do find something, what is that? What would that?
What would it mean to you?
What would it mean to me?
Yeah, what does it have DNA?
I don't know.
Or not.
We would have to check, wouldn't we?
So, or would we look in a book? For
See,
it?
they're just all speculative things.
They're
you-
fantastic things.
You know that you
They're
haven't
fantastic
found life.
things to speculate upon. Furthermore,
Why is it fantastic?
it is not. I'll tell you why. I have purchased a Martian meteorite from a guy in Colorado that collects them. When you go to Antarctica and you find rocks on top of the ice, where did the rocks come from? There are no mountains anywhere around. They came from space. They're meteorites.
What
Listen,
if
I don't understand how you think that we can understand everything that's out there. Like, are us little
It's a
humans-
quest.
I
That's
know.
what's so wonderful.
I know, but
That's
you-
what's so
you-
inspiring.
You act like you have you
A process
understand
by
everything.
which we can know
Exactly.
the universe. Yes, we can know the cosmos and our place within
But
it.
like, why do you think that, like, our technology and our like evaluation of science is as developed as it's gonna get?
No.
So how do
Absolutely
you know
not.
that the stuff that you think you know now
It's going to change. I guarantee you, everyone.
So then you're saying
There
that
are
you're,
things that I accept as true that are not.
that are not true.
And that doesn't bother me. That excites me.
What? How?
We're going to make discoveries
But how does it not bother you that things you believe you know are not true?
because we have a process by finding out the truth. When I was a kid,
I just feel like
am
you're
so.
making it so difficult
No,
for
but let me
yourself.
give it. No, it's. In other words, to me, what you have is this simplistic worldview that is inconsistent with everything we observe. That's what I find troubling. But hang on, let me give you this one thought, you guys. We find Martian meteorites on the Earth because Mars was hit with an impactor right around 3 billion years ago.
Oh, stop right there for a minute.
Stuff fell into space.
Wait a minute. How do you know 3 billion years
So
ago?
let's just say it is, for now.
All right.
The same way we say there was a flood 6,000 years ago.
Oh, no,
based
it
on
wasn't 6,000 years
something.
ago, it was 4,000.
Okay,
But I have a
okay.
basis
So,
that
all
I
that
have-
aside-
I have a historical record.
All that aside.
Do you have a historical record
Yes,
for
we
the
do.
3
So
billion?
you look at this
what's that
meteorite,
record?
What is your
and
historical
you
record?
find evidence of the Martian atmosphere, the little bubbles in the rock. You find these shock patterns, and you find the minerals from Mars. So it is not crazy. It's extraordinary, but not crazy to suggest that Mars was hit with an impactor through what's generally called a Hohmann orbit, an orbit where it falls toward the sun but ends up on the Earth. You and I are descendants of Martians.
Okay,
That
and
is
that's
not crazy.
And that's not crazy? Is it crazy that you and I are descendants of Adam and Eve?
We are descendants from a common ancestor. I don't
But
know
is
that
it
they went by
crazy that
those names.
is it crazy that God made the first man and woman and we're descendants of them?
For me, there's no evidence of that.
So is that crazy?
But
I wouldn't use that word.
What would you say?
It's you're betraying your intellect. You're not using your head. That's what I would
So
say.
you're saying it is crazy?
It's frustrating.
which is more crazy
but,
though?
But
being
you're saying we're
descended
descendants
from
of
a Martian?
Martians, and that's not
It's-
crazy?
I say it is not crazy. It's extraordinary, but not crazy.
Okay,
And
so-
we have a process
where
by
are-
which we can prove that.
Oh,
That's what's so exciting.
Prove that we're Bill, I want you to do that for all these young people. Prove that we're descendants from Martians.
I can't prove that right now. I don't know
thought
where
you
you
said
were
we-
the
I-
last minute and a half.
I thought you said we
We
could.
want to send spacecraft there. We have a process by which we can make this discovery.
Okay.
And it could be on Europa. There might be something
What if
alive.
there is no discovery?
Well, that's
You don't
also
discover
extraordinary. That makes us even more unusual in the universe.
Are you prepared to take? We have a book called the Bible that says it is the Word of God who made all things. You said, here's what happened in the past. Are you prepared to take that and consider it in regard to the evidence you see in the present?
So I claim, Mr. Ham, that I spent a lot of time with it. I read it twice.
Uh-huh.
I followed the guys around on the maps. I decided that humans made the whole thing up,
Okay, so,
just like this.
but are you?
I'm skeptical. Do you think, what do you say to young people when they ask you about the steel brackets?
Uh-huh.
Did Noah have steel brackets?
Oh, very
Did
well.
Noah have those extraordinary
Hey,
cranes?
listen, please let me answer.
Okay.
Okay. Did Noah have steel brackets? Actually, in the Bible,
Now,
within
what do you say to young people when they ask you?
Oh yeah, I would say in the Bible tells us within 7 generations of Adam they'll work as a bronze and iron. So yeah, he very well could have had steel brackets. That's exactly true. Yep. I mean, in the Bible it actually says that about iron.
So my claim is that's absolutely not true.
And you said
If you study archaeology and anthropology, you will see the evidence for it absolutely being not true.
okay.
Don't take
can I
my
know
word
why?
for it.
Was there no? Do you not see any sort of like metal or anything? Is
It
that
took
why?
way longer than 7 generations to get from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age
But that's
to the Iron Age.
Isn't it possible that people, for instance, how about,
So I've evaluated the evidence. It's not
okay, how
possible.
about this for a scenario?
I can't fly.
Okay,
It's
how
not
about
possible.
how about this for a scenario?
People didn't live to be 300 years old. It's not possible.
Okay. How do you know that's not possible?
I just say, I've just seen no evidence for it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, how about this for a scenario? There's an event called the Tower of Babel that was after the flood, sometime after the flood. People dispersed over the earth. Some people used stone tools. Some people were able to develop technology with iron. Some people built wooden houses. Some people lived in caves. And that all happened as a result of that dispersion. But we live in the present. And so when we go and see evidence of these cultures, then some people are interpreting as Stone Age to Bronze Age to Iron Age. But it's very possible that different people did different things. I mean, if you came with me, we'd live in a
So
cave
this is
because
where
I couldn't
this is
build a
where we
house.
disagree.
Okay.
I claim it's not very possible. It's absolutely impossible.
Why?
Based on the evidence that you see in archaeology, anthropology,
But if you
and
but if
nature
you
and
but if you say
geology.
it's impossible, then you're stating something absolute. So you must have
In this
all
one
evidence.
regard, yeah.
So you've got all evidence to know that that's
I
not
have
true?
more than enough evidence to know
No,
that.
do you have all evidence?
Well, in other words, can you prove there is a God? No, you can't.
In
It's
an
a
ulti-
philosophical question.
In an ultimate sense, I can't.
Well, let me ask you
because
another
I'm a
question.
finite being. But I can do this. I can say if there is a God, I'd see evidence of his handiwork. I'd see evidence of creation. When I look at DNA that builds life, I mean, regardless of whether we're talking about, we've all got, the two eyes and the nose, we're built on DNA. And what I see is that we never see information coming from matter by itself.
Well,
by
I
natural
claim
processes.
we do. I claim we do.
Well,
We're
give me
all
an
here.
example. Give me an example.
These people. You and
In other
me.
words, you're saying we're here, therefore natural
So
processes.
here's what I want you to think about. Here's where I believe Mr. Ham has trouble understanding nature. On my side of it, we claim the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. And to take the time to get your mind around 1 billion is very difficult, let alone 4.5 billion. And in evolution, the fundamental idea in all biology, the basis of modern medicine.
Stop there for a minute.
Okay.
No.
So we acknowledge that it's bottom up. We as humans design buildings from the top down. We make a drawing, we harvest lumber, and we build this thing. But that's not how evolution works. Evolution works from the bottom up. As the old saying goes, nature has her bad designs eaten by her good designs. And as time goes on, over billions of years, things have changed to the point where you and I are here. So you guys, I really encourage you to take the time to understand 1 billion. If you started counting from the moment you were born, it would take you to your 31 years and a half to get to 1 billion. Day and night, no sleeping.
Okay, look, you've been
It's
talking
extraordinary.
Let me ask you a question. You said that evolution is foundational to medicine.
Yes.
So doctors, I mean, they learn anatomy, which you study in the present, and they look at all your physiology. And name one medical piece of technology that's dependent on molecules to man evolution.
Vaccines.
Well, no, wait a minute. Vaccines are developed in the present by doctors looking at organisms in the present and understanding how they react to certain...
So the key word there is
certain-
understanding.
Yeah, because you're observing it. Because you can actually...
So do you
can
distinguish between short-term evolution and long evolution?
I'm not even sure what you mean by short-term
By
evolution.
short-term, I mean, why do you need a different flu vaccine every year?
Yeah, because the organisms have different strains because mutations and so on, but that's not...
Mutations happen over time.
They do, but give me an example where mutation produces brand new information. I mean, when you look at resistance in bacteria, antibiotic resistance in bacteria, usually it's due to a loss of information or it's an inherited resistance. Give me an example where mutation produces a brand new piece of information that never was there before.
You and me, you and I.
That doesn't make sense.
Yes, it does. When it comes from the bottom up. The organisms that mutate favorably. We disagree on this. We disagree on the fundamental idea.
There has to be
of
a mechanism for matter to produce. I mean,
we disagree about biology, Mr. Ham. Let's move on to some of your other extraordinary
Can
claims.
I ask you a question?
Please.
You said that you don't really believe that anyone could have ever lived to 300 or more, but
I've
if
seen no evidence of it.
I have just a question though. Let's say there was a lot less pollution back in the day, right? It was a lot cleaner, right?
Let's start right there. When you look at the archaeological evidence of ancient times, people's lives were much shorter. If a guy were 40 years old, skeletons of dead people.
Yeah,
people, their lifespan was much shorter.
Yeah, it's
not longer.
Yeah, it's not much shorter, and that's because of all our modern medicines, and also because of our eating
well, it's really
techniques
two big things:
our diet,
invention of farming, and sanitation.
Yeah.
Without sewers,
but it's still
it'd be really hard to have a lot of
still a
people.
maximum of about 70 years. I mean, the Bible does say that people lived for hundreds of years before the flood. That's all gone. We do know that aging occurs because of when chromosomes are duplicated.
I read the Bible twice. I read the Bible twice. I don't remember any mention of chromosomes. So go ahead about that.
No, it doesn't. It's primarily a book of history, actually.
Okay.
That's what it primarily is, a book of history.
Not a science book.
Well, what do you mean by science? The word science means knowledge, right? Doesn't the word science mean knowledge?
It also means the process by which we know nature, which includes observation, hypothesis, creating a test, testing it, compared what you thought would happen with what happened, and then coming up with a new
We've
hypothesis.
been asking you about a test, but give an example where matter produces new information.
Well, I claim we're looking at it all around us. Well, that's
Okay.
where we disagree.
I think that's your answer. I think that's the answer.
So there's an old saying, if you find the watch in a field, the watch had to be created. But that was top down. Somebody designed the watch.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
It's not how evolution works.
You
It's the
agreed
other
for
way.
me. You agreed to come for me to walk you through the
Yeah, so
ark.
go ahead, walk me.
You agreed for me to come and walk you through the ark, and the first thing that you wanted to do was start on level 3, because you already had people suss it out. Where we have the teaching exhibits. You didn't want the walk through the ark. You wanted to set us
No,
up.
I'll
in
see
that way.
the ark. Well,
Okay.
Mr. Hem, you
Thanks,
make
buddy.
extraordinary claims.
Uh-huh.
So we
Well,
were.
yeah, you wanted to come up here to the third deck.
Well, I was
We have our
afraid we
teaching
wouldn't get
exhibits
to it.
here,
Yeah.
where we have our. Oh, yes, we would have. I would have taken you through. That's what I offered to do for you.
So I'm more than happy to see the ark right now, Mr. Ham.
So, okay, well, let's go down here and walk through the ark there. We really need to walk from the bottom up, and that's what I wanted to do. But,
Do you want to go back to the elevator?
no, we're not going back to the elevator. We're going to go on the ramps. You don't see the ark if you get on the elevator.
But if you want to go
This
from
is
the
all
bottom
about-
up.
By the way, this is showing how ancient man was highly intelligent. You said Noah wouldn't have used cranes. How do you know Noah wouldn't have used cranes?
I don't think he had steel cranes with fossil fuel powered
You don't
hydraulics.
even need steel frames for cranes. How do you know he didn't
Well,
use
why
cranes?
did you use them then?
What's that?
Why did you use the steel cranes with fossil fuel hydraulics?
Well, we didn't say we're going to build this way Noah did, because Noah, the Bible doesn't tell us how he built the ark. We didn't even try to build it the way Noah did. We're building it, the dimensions in the Bible, using modern tools. That's what we set out to do. We've never ever claimed we built it the way Noah did.
You couldn't.
Well,
How long would it take Noah to have built this structure?
I don't know. I don't know what technology. Do you know what tools he had?
I know what tools he didn't have.
Well, he didn't have our modern tools because he didn't live in our time. But do we know what tools he had?
We have a pretty good idea, actually.
How do we have that? The whole
We
world was
look at-
destroyed by a flood.
Well, that's where we disagree. I don't see how you have trees older than the flood. I don't see how you have buildings older than the flood.
Well, then
That's
we
where
get
you
down,
lose
then we
it.
get down to how you date the tree. You keep making these statements, but
Well, they're based on evidence. That's why I make them.
Tree rings is not evidence. That's not
To me, tree rings are absolutely evidence.
it's
I've
things
never
that-
seen a tree grow faster than trees grow.
It's not evidence in the sense you're saying. It's evidence in the sense that we have facts that exist in the present. Correct? We have
The
tree
facts
rings.
that, for example,
we have tree
the
rings
facts
in the
we
present.
exist in the present, we cut down a tree and count tree rings. The facts we have in the present is we go shopping for Christmas trees and we count the rings and we compare it to how long it took the tree to grow.
Yeah, but
we don't-
you can have multiple tree rings in a year, correct?
But be that as it may,
So then your interpretation of the age could be incorrect, correct?
no, absolutely not.
So your interpretation is 100% correct?
My interpretation with respect to the age of the Earth in this regard is absolutely
No,
correct.
no, we're asking
And
about
furthermore,
your-
Mr.
Wow,
Ham,
you
your
keep-
interpretation is absolutely wrong.
You keep jumping.
And so what I
absolutely.
always
so,
wonder-
So you know everything? You know all.
I didn't say that. In fact,
Well, how can you
furthermore,
say I'm absolutely wrong if you
about
if you don't-
this one thing, you are absolutely wrong.
Well, we're talking about tree rings, and you
No,
just
we're
jumped
talking
to
about the age of the Earth. Yes, that's what we're talking about, the age of the Earth. This is why I'll say again.
Okay, well, I thought we were
I have
talking
no
about tree
problem.
rings.
I have no problem with people's religions writ large.
How
but
would you
the Earth
prove?
is not 6,000
How would you
years
prove
old.
to all these young people here, 100% absolute proof that the Earth is 4.6 billion years old?
That's quite difficult. Over 4 billion we can do.
How do you do? Okay, over 4 billion. How do you do?
Yeah, well, using potassium argon, strontium, rubidium, and the process of geology, the many processes associated
Okay,
with
so
geology.
if you're using radiometric dating techniques, I understand that. Elements at decay, radioactive elements at decay, that is true. You use those, but you have to assume things about the parent element. I mean, do you know how many of the daughter elements were there to start with? Do you know for sure the rates of change haven't stayed?
We do our best to
same?
know as closely as possible.
But it's possible those things could be different, right?
No,
It's not?
not when you're talking about one order of magnitude. No, there's no reason to think it's.
Well, actually,
not the way
our scientists have
science
done
infers it.
research to show that those things...
As I've said,
Our
your
assumptions
scientists
are-
do not impress me in any way, sir.
They don't? What about the scientist who engineered this building? He's a biblical creationist. What would you say about that?
I'm glad he learned the fundamentals of architecture and
So you can
structural
do
engineering.
that and be a biblical creationist?
Apparently.
Oh, good. We agree on something.
Yeah, apparently.
I'm really
But the Earth's not 6,000 years
about
old.
The process of science, the philosophy, and the methodology. Of
So,
science.
so here's the thing, Mr. Ham. Yeah, what makes you think that strontium, that rubidium doesn't become strontium? Strontium doesn't become rubidium. I mean. What makes you think that? What makes you think that it doesn't always happen as we always observe everywhere in nature? What makes you think it's possible for that not to happen?
Well, when we observe it, you know, at those decay rates, some of those decay rates, the half-lives are over multiple millions of years.
Billions in this
Okay,
case.
but you don't observe the billions. You only observe it in the present in a very short period.
So in other words, you believe, let me ask you, you can agree or disagree. You believe that there's a process by which the decay of rubidium and strontium would be not as we observe it today, that it would somehow be different in ancient times. Is
No,
that right?
I didn't say that.
I'm asking.
All I said was, you are only observing decay in a limited sense in the present. You're extrapolating backwards, and plus, when it comes to the original, conditions, you don't know everything that was there. Correct?
We know a great deal of what was there by the process of science and inference.
But you weren't there to actually.
No,
test
that's the wonderful nature of it.
All I'm trying to do is
So-
say,
so,
you're
inspiring.
extrapolating backwards, and you do have certain assumptions, you do have certain beliefs that could be wrong.
That's the process of science.
Okay, but they could be wrong.
We have a process by which we eliminate that that turns out to be wrong. When you make such broad statements, you're almost embracing science, but you're kind of missing it. Let me ask you again. Do you believe there's a way for the radioactive decay of strontium and rubidium to somehow have been different in ancient times?
I mean, it's possible that decay rates are different than what they're interpreted to be today. It's possible decay rates change. In fact, there's evidence that decay rates change.
So here's my claim. As soon as you invoke that sort of reasoning, Mr. Ham, as soon as you invoke that, you are invoking a miracle. And that is no longer what we consider science in the mainstream.
I didn't just invoke a miracle. I mean, there are things that change on this earth just because of the laws of nature and because of...
But do you believe that the decay of strontium and rubidium changes because of the laws of nature? And can you explain the laws of nature?
Absolutely, but
that make that possible?
But can you explain the laws of nature?
No, see, for us, on
Where did
my
those
side
laws
of it,
come from?
That's a wonderful question. And we believe it comes from the nature of subatomic particles, based on evidence. What's this? Hey, Mr. Ham, you should sell my book. Why don't you sell my book at your store?
Oh, these books we aren't selling. We're warning people about these books because they picture Noah's Ark as a bathtub, which it wasn't. It was like this big ship that you're in.
Made of concrete and not seaworthy.
You know what? We never built this to float. We built it. It's designed as a ship and built as a building for tourists to come through. So it actually is sitting on.
So what's the difference between that and this?
I think the size is a big difference.
These boats are too small, you mean? In these.
Explain what's the philosophy behind the exhibit? I guess I don't.
The philosophy behind this exhibit is really to say that, unfortunately, a lot of people have pictured Noah's Ark as a bathtub ark. When you take the dimensions in the Bible, it's a ship like the one that we built here.
In other words, this is too small.
It's not that it's too small, it's just unbiblical. And it is too small, but it's unbiblical. That's the whole point. The Bible's description is 300 cubits by 50 cubits by 30 cubits. Those bathtub arks are
And you've inferred the size of a cubit based on the...
Everyone knows that a cubit generally is from your elbow to the tip of your fingers, and there's different cubits in history. We chose a particular cubit based on research that our researchers have done. There's different size cubits.
So this is 7 family members building a structure as big as this one?
Actually, there were 8.
8. Wasn't one of them a kid?
Well, actually, Noah and his wife had 3 sons and wives when God spoke to them. So I wouldn't say he was a kid. I'd say they were all married, just like the Bible says. See, the point is, none of us were there when Noah was alive. And a lot of people have an evolutionary view of history. They take your view of history and they say, oh, those sort of people before us weren't as good as us. They couldn't have built a great ship like this. By the way, we hired lots of contractors to help us build this. It's very possible that Noah hired contractors too. Then again, if you over a number of years have some very talented people, carpenters like the people that built this, you can build some fantastic structures. I mean, it's very, from a biblical perspective, Noah was highly intelligent. And there could have been all sorts of technology that was developed by them.
So, hi, you guys.
See, what we're trying to do, is to be able to help mums and dads be able to teach their children that they're made in the image of God, there's purpose and meaning in life, that God's Son stepped into history to die on the cross, be raised from the dead, to save them from eternity. You want to teach them that they're just animals and when you die, you're done.
So let me ask you this.
Isn't that right?
Hang on. Let me ask you this.
But isn't that right?
Yeah, hang on. Wasn't Jesus in the New Testament?
No.
When did Jesus come along?
Oh, it's interesting. The very first verse of Genesis, in the beginning, God, the word for God is, basically you could call it a uniplural noun. It says God is one, but more than one. Let us make man in his own image.
So in other words,
when God's Son stepped into history to be Jesus Christ, the God-man, he becomes a God-man 2,000 years ago, but Jesus existed from eternity.
I see. Oh, he's quite a craftsman. And there were ancient dinosaurs.
You must admit, okay, how about saying something positive for me? You must admit, these are quite exquisite exhibits, right?
They're very troubling.
Yeah, but they're beautifully done, aren't they?
They look like a modern Amish workshop where people eschew modern technology.
Well,
I'm very skeptical.
It's not an Amish workshop.
Well, that's what it looks like. The lay of that rope.
Actually, by the way, 100.
How did people? How did people in the Middle East get bamboo?
100 Amish craftsmen built this
Oh,
art.
there you go.
Very talented, aren't they?
But I mean, it looks very Amish to me.
Aren't they talented?
Yes.
You want to admit, and you know what? They trust in God, and they're able to build this phenomenal place.
So let me ask you this other big question.
Okay.
Hi, you guys.
Hey.
Yeah, I've read that this place costs $100 million. Is that right? Is this the best use of $100 million?
Well,
really?
let me ask you this.
Think of all the things you could do.
Well, let me ask you this.
All the help you could provide people.
Okay, a politician using $2 billion for a political campaign. Are you prepared to say that about every person who spends money, every project in America? Are you prepared to say that about billion-dollar cruise ships? Are you just singling us out, or are you prepared to say that about everyone?
No, but you make the extraordinary claim that what you do is
No, that's what I'm asking. I'm asking you to be consistent. You say you're questioning.
So let me ask, what's this guy? Who do we have
questioning.
here? So we have. This looks like an apatosaurus or something.
Yeah, it's a sauropod. Yeah.
And why are there juveniles?
Yeah, they'd be juveniles. Yeah.
And they lived on the ark. What became of them?
Well, what became of the dodo bird? Became extinct.
Well, humans killed the dodo bird. So
yeah, but
you
lots
think
of
that
other
humans killed these
hundreds and
organisms?
hundreds and hundreds of species of animals have become extinct, right?
Considerably more than
Actually,
hundreds.
thousands, really.
Millions. But yes, so
I don't know about millions.
yeah, well, we do. So what your claim is that
I'm talking about
this,
land animals.
let me just understand.
Land animals. No, I'm not
The
talking about sea
family-
creatures. I'm just talking about air-dwelling.
Your claim is that a
air
family
creatures.
built this enclosure for ancient sauropods,
For each kind
and
of
the
land animal.
sauropods disappeared.
For each kind of land. Oh, lots of animals have disappeared. I mean, that's why we have endangered
But they
species
happened. It
program.
happened in the last 4,000 years.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And there's no record of it in Scripture. There's no record of it in Asia. There are no fossils of
Actually,
them.
what's interesting in Scripture, there is an animal. It's called the largest land animal God made in Job 40. And when you read the description, it actually sounds like a description of something like a sauropod.
Something like a sauropod. It's, for us on the other side, that's not enough, Mr. Ham.
Now, you believe dinosaurs evolved into birds, right?
Yes, sure.
So that's why you can't have dinosaurs living beside man.
No, furthermore, it's an interesting fun fact.
Uh-huh.
The amount of time between the Stegosaurus
Uh-huh.
and the catastrophe that finished off the ancient dinosaurs is more than the amount of time from the impact to humans today.
Okay, you said fun fact. Prove the fact to me.
Well, that's what we do in science.
Yeah, but prove to all these people right
It's
here.
difficult to prove right here with nothing around me. However, I claim you all can go to the American Museum of Natural History in New York and see the evidence. You can go to the Smithsonian and see the evidence from my side.
You'll see dinosaur skeletons, but
not only dinosaur skeletons, but you'll observe the sediment in which they are trapped.
but you never saw them trapped.
Absolutely not.
Right. Okay. That's all we really think.
When you look at the sediment around ancient dinosaur bones, you will find where potassium and argon have chemically replaced calcium. And then you can infer how long ago that lava solidified.
Well, you know what's interesting? There's been a lot of work done to show when, in New Zealand, for instance, are examples, and we've got documentation of this, that when lava comes out onto the Earth's surface and it's dated using potassium argon, it dates to millions of years old because they found argon from the mantle comes up and makes it look old. So in other words...
Well, what you have to do is compare the ratios, Mr. Ham, with the chemical replacement of the argon, calcium, and potassium. You're not just making this stuff up. They're very diligent about it.
Yeah, but my point is...
This never happened, just so we're clear.
See,
Go ahead, lead on.
Bill, one of the things is you don't want to listen to answers. You just keep making
I've heard your answers. I've read your books.
You keep making statements and then you ask questions and then you go on. You won't listen.
I'm listening. Your claim, as I understand it just now, is that potassium-argon dating does not indicate that ancient dinosaurs are 60 or 150 million years old.
Well, potassium argon dating, like all dating methods, are based on a series of assumptions that are fallible.
Which we call science. Go ahead.
Assumptions, fallible assumptions are science.
Fallible assumptions. My claim is that the potassium-argon dating that you will come across at the American Museum of Natural History or the Smithsonian is not fallible.
You know, they used potassium argon dating on the actually lava dome that was produced at Mount St. Helens. And as you know, that was produced after it erupted in May 18th, 1980.
I was there, actually.
Right. So when they used potassium argon dating on the lava dome, it doesn't date to just, 20 years old or
because it came from the middle of the Earth. You have to wait for the chemical replacement of calcium and potassium and argon. And, sir, really, you're cherry-picking a couple facts from a sentence.
You're cherry-picking. In other words, when the lava solidifies, then the rock should be 0 years old, right?
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
So
the rock is ancient. It's from below the Earth's crust. All due respect, what you just said is not right.
So then you've got a problem because when you see that lava, it's already got argon, potassium there. You don't know how long.
We work very hard to figure out how long ago it happened. That's the business of science.
Tell them how you know how it happened.
So you look at many, many rocks. You look at a lot of argon and a lot of potassium and a lot of calcium, and you infer how long it takes rocks to cool and how long it takes for the chemicals to replace. And then you shine X-rays through them and look at the crystals. It takes great diligence.
Okay, you infer.
You figure out. Would you prefer that term? You figure out how long ago.
But you're making assumptions doing that. It could be wrong, right?
Your word assumption is my word evidence, I think. Mr. Ham, we just disagree about this at an extraordinary level.
You know why? Because there's a clash of worldviews, because we have a different starting point. Your starting point is everything happens by natural processes, evolution is fact. My starting point is God's word is true. And I'm saying when I start with God's word, I can explain why DNA is an information system and a language system. I can explain why there are fossils over the earth. I can explain why there are flood legend cultures all over the world, because the Bible's history that makes sense of that. Your history is not history. Your belief about the past doesn't make sense of that. It doesn't make sense of DNA. Doesn't make sense of where humans came from. Doesn't make sense of the fossil record.
I claim it does.
Okay.
to an extraordinary degree. So everybody understand, in the process of science, as soon as you work backwards and introduce a miracle, a miraculous event, then it's no longer science. It's another type of worldview.
And then I want everyone to understand that when you go backwards and say everything happened by natural processes, that's Bill's religion. His religion is there's no God, the Bible's not true, and everything happened by natural processes. He has a religion, I have a religion. His is based on blind faith, mine is not. Because when you start with God's word, it makes sense of the world that we see, and we can use observational science to confirm it.
So what's the difference between science and observational science?
Well, again, the word science, it comes from the Latin scientia, correct?
Yeah.
And it means to know.
Let's change it to the process of science.
No, it means to know.
What's the difference between the process of science
So how do you
observational science?
define science?
Define science as a process by which we make discoveries about nature.
Okay, so science as a process, okay, you can use the word science in regard to that. What about when you're talking about knowledge about the past?
Knowledge about the past.
Okay, so that's science.
Absolutely.
So the Bible is a science textbook because it's a textbook of
I
historical
would not
science.
in absolutely no way consider the Bible a science text.
It's a book of history, right? So it's historical science.
See,
It's
that's
not-
a word I've
it's-
never heard before.
It's knowledge about
Until
the
I
past.
met you, I never heard the expression historical science.
I'm glad I could bring it to your attention.
So there's a difference between observational science
Yeah.
and historical
Oh,
science.
absolutely. Because using your five senses in the present, you can build a great ship like this. But using your five senses in the present, you can't prove we came from Martians.
I will someday, I hope, be able to prove whether or not life is on Mars. It's not exactly the same
Well,
question.
you know what's interesting? When the Human Genome Project mapped the human genome, they said there's only one race of people. You know what that confirms? The Bible. Because we all go back to Adam and Eve, we're all one race.
So I don't think it confirms the Bible. It just makes the Bible consistent with nature on this one point.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad we agree on that.
Yeah.
I'm glad we
Consistent with nature on this
agree.
one
It
thing.
is consistent. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is. But your evolutionary view, would you say there were different races that evolved at different times?
No,
So there's only one race?
only one race of humans. People run this test all the time, Mr. Ham.
So
No, Mr. Ham,
when
if
do-
a
when do-
Norwegian,
when-
if
when do we-
an Australian
when-
has sex with an Australian has sex with a person from China, all you get is a human. You don't get any new thing.
So how in history did an ape-like ancestor give rise to humans? Where did we become human? And
Welcome to our world. We struggle with this question all the time. 100,000 years ago, 150,000 years ago,
So
a million years ago,
so it-
million and a half,
So if we become
75,000 years
human,
ago.
are we different to the animals?
Yes, you can run this test too.
Yeah, so we're different.
Yeah.
So is it possible that humans were created separately by God and we didn't evolve from...
I've seen no evidence for that.
Okay,
There's no evidence for
So you don't know when we evolved from...
We work very hard to try to figure it out.
Okay, but so you're assuming we did evolve from some ape-like ancestor.
Absolutely. The evidence is overwhelming.
What evidence?
The evidence that there are so many animals, remains of animals that are almost human. Not quite. So many remains of animals that are almost primates. It's a spectrum, a transition. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. It's an amazing discovery.
I don't know. Okay, I'm perplexed because you said before we don't know. Was it 100,000? We don't?
But it wasn't a billion.
Well, you don't have.
And it wasn't.
So you
it
don't
wasn't
have-
4,000.
So you don't have all these supposed transitions that you could just show all these young people?
We have the supposed transitions. Yeah.
So we do know when we came from ape-like
People
ancestors?
argue about this very diligently. Furthermore, by the way, everybody, through the process of science, I guarantee you there will be changes. Pluto was considered a planet. Now people think Pluto isn't really of a different origin. Doesn't orbit in the same plane, so we change the definition. Science changes. That's the fundamental thing, everybody. Science changes.
So your views you have today could be wrong?
Absolutely.
Well, if you could be wrong,
But
you see...
here's where we differ. Being wrong by less than 1% is not the same as being wrong by 100%.
So we're wrong by 100%.
You're wrong by 100%.
So you must have 100% of knowledge to know I'm wrong by 100%.
Absolutely, I have 100% knowledge that your worldview is wrong.
Okay.
That I've got.
All right, I don't know anyone else who would claim they know
they're here.
100% of everything. I just don't know.
Well, not 100% of everything.
Oh,
100%
okay.
of this claim. Your
100%
claim.
that claim. But you have to know 100% of everything to know that that claim is
Absolutely not true.
true. You said absolutely. That's 100%.
So it's not true. You do not have to know 100% of everything to know that the Earth is not 6,000 years old.
Okay, so
That's
if you
not a
don't-
criterion.
So if you don't know 100%,
That's
if you,
bad
if
philosophy.
you don't know
It's bad
100%,
logic.
then you could be wrong though.
I follow what you're saying, but I'm not wrong about the age of the Earth not being 6,000 years old. I am not wrong about that one thing.
How do you know for sure?
Because I've looked at the evidence. I'll tell you what else. The sun will rise tomorrow. I can't prove it. You can't prove that the sun will rise tomorrow. So you're not going to count on it? You're going to presume the sun won't rise tomorrow? I think you will count on the sun rising tomorrow. Won't you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you can't prove it.
I'm just interested. As
Can't
to
prove it right now.
No, you can't prove it. But you know what? If I'm in the present, like I was this morning, and saw the sun, I watched it.
Good.
Did you see ape-like creatures turn into people?
No, it happened too long ago.
Okay. That's the point.
So here's where we disagree. My understanding is you believe that if you didn't see it, it didn't happen, or you couldn't prove that it happened.
Well,
I believe that if you have the system of evidence, you can show beyond a reasonable doubt.
If you're not here in the present with your five senses, and you're talking about something in the past when you weren't there, or no human was there.
Titanic sank. I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, but there were people that were. There are historical records. Actually, we have a historical record called the Bible. God's always been there, and He has recorded for us who we are.
So we have historical records also on my side of it. Number of neutrons in water.
I've never dug up a historical record about billions of years. I mean, you make interpretations, but where's it written down?
It's not. So everybody, the reason we believe the Earth is 4.5 billion years old is based on looking very carefully at rocks. And yes, it's not written in English on the rock how old I am as a rock, but it is written in scientific sense. And you don't have to take my word for it, you all. You all can go to universities, you all can take geology courses, and you can learn this for yourself.
Hey, I took geology courses. I never saw
That's part of the mystery.
I never saw the age written in the rock.
Well, you didn't take enough geology, I guess.
Well, I just didn't see a label on it.
It's not a label, but it almost is.
You know, in the Bible, in the time of Joshua, it says the sun stopped in the sky.
Why would it do that?
Well,
there's no evidence.
Yeah, but that was a miracle of God. Is the Bible is the Bible scientifically wrong in saying the sun could stop, or?
Looks to me as absolutely wrong. That one literal claim. So a couple things, everybody. As soon as you go back and invoke a miracle, the sun stopped in the sky because of a miracle. That's not science.
In other words, your arbitrary definition of science is...
I don't claim it's arbitrary.
The supernatural has nothing to do with it.
Supernatural has nothing to do with it.
Okay, that's your definition.
Pretty much.
Okay, but why should I accept your definition?
Because we have so much evidence for it. Why should I accept your definition? Yeah, I know. Furthermore, let me ask you this. You've heard you're Australian. You know this expression, separation between church and state?
Yeah, it's not in the Constitution.
Where is it?
Oh, it was in a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to Danbury Church to talk about the fact that that they were not going to have a state church like was in England to impose beliefs on people.
So we have that here in the United States. We celebrate that.
Actually, in the United States right now, the government is imposing beliefs through the education system that we came about by natural processes, so that's really their religion. That's the religion of the state. And they're using my tax dollars to do it, by the way.
So we claim that science.
What science?
That the process that we teach in science class.
Okay.
Science.
So your definition of science, that you can't have the supernatural, is what they've adopted in the public education system, correct?
Well, it's what science, conventional mainstream science.
But who decided that definition? Who decided the supernatural?
It's a process.
Who decided the supernatural has nothing to do with it?
It's a process.
Who decided the supernatural has nothing to do with it?
Thousands, millions of people over the last few centuries, since the Enlightenment.
They said that the supernatural has nothing to do
So
with
that science does not have the supernatural involved.
So it's people who decided that definition?
Absolutely.
So it's an arbitrary definition?
I wouldn't use the word arbitrary. It's a very carefully thought through philosophical process.
I say it's not very carefully thought through, because if you disallow the supernatural, then you're assuming you know everything.
No, I disagree with that. I claim we don't know everything, and that's wonderful and empowering.
Okay.
I claim you say you know everything.
If you don't know everything, right, you agree with that, you don't know everything.
Absolutely.
Would you allow someone to teach the possibility that God created them in the public schools?
No, not in science class. In religion class, is history class, philosophy class, but it's not science.
But you said your belief was everything happened by natural processes, and they're teaching that religion in the science class.
Well, you're calling it a religion.
Yeah,
We're
it is.
calling it the process of science.
No, but it is a religion.
So you can teach.
It's a belief.
Teach your worldview in a different class, but not in science class.
But what you're saying is your worldview you want taught in the public education system.
In science class,
Okay, but my worldview you won't allow.
not in science class.
Okay, so what you're not allowing it because you've decided there's no supernatural.
Not in science class.
You-
Science is everything that is not the supernatural.
Okay,
Let's call it not supernatural class.
But that's your
Would you
definition.
prefer that?
Okay, not supernatural class. So in other words, you want to eliminate the supernatural, and you want these young people to believe we came about by natural processes, and when you die, you're done, but it's great being alive, and hey, there's purpose and meaning while you're alive, and think what you're passing on to the next generation, and when they're done, they won't even know that they were here, and hey, isn't this great? You're all going to be done.
It is great.
Okay. Well, hey, can I show you something in here? That's great. Wow. No wonder young people have problems with purpose and meaning and turn to drugs and sex and suicide. Why would it be? Would it be wrong for a young person to say, "I'm going to be done. Won't know I'm here anyway. Why don't I kill myself?" Would it be?
People do that all the time.
And that's okay?
No,
Why?
because we want people to be productive and happy.
Yeah, but if they're going to be done and won't remember, what's wrong with them saying? "I'm
Because
gonna jump
life
off a
has
cliff"?
great meaning for us, on my side.
While you're here.
Yes.
But what about when you got when you?
We don't know what's going to happen.
Can I show you something in here?
So you guys know James Randi? $1 million, and he carries the check with him for any paranormal effect that he cannot reproduce. He's a magician. He's 86. No one's ever collected the $1 million. Never. Psychics, people who believe they can find water under the ground,
Let me show you something.
no one's ever gotten the money.
Can I show you something?
Not yet, thanks.
Hey, Mr. Knight, can I quick tell you something?
Yeah.
Well, so we're obviously not quite as old or smart as you,
You might be smarter
So,
than I am. I don't know
no.
how smart you are.
but there's nothing that we can say that can convince you, but I just want to let you know that we all prayed for you as a youth group.
And we all thank you for talking to us today.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Ham.
Yeah, thank you.
I
guys.
hope that someday you get out of this area and visit the American Museum of Natural History.
I'm sure they
Maybe the
visited
London
secular
Museum.
museums. Have you visited secular
I
museums?
really encourage you to take.
And we're actually 14 hours from home to see this museum today.
Yeah.
So,
Where'd you come from?
Iowa.
Northwest side.
Can I ask you guys a question? There are secular museums all across America that would portray Bill's view, and we have one creation museum, we have one ark like this. Do you think it's great that Christians can actually give their view like this?
I think it's amazing.
So let me ask you this. To me, Christians came along in the New Testament, but the flood's from the Old Testament, right? Is that not? Do I not have that?
No, that's correct.
Well, the word Christian wasn't invented until
So why
The
aren't
flood is
Jewish
just part
people
of history.
Christians?
it's just part of the biblical history.
So why are Jewish people
I
not
tell you
Christians?
what, I've heard your history, right? Your evolutionary history. Will you give me just a couple of minutes to share ours?
As we walk along, yeah.
So, even though you don't believe it is, we do believe the Bible is God's word.
I see no evidence for it.
Okay, that's fine. And God says He created everything in 6 days. He created man and woman in the image of God, which is why we can speak to each other. It's why, and the fact that He created is why we have the laws of nature and the laws of logic, because they didn't come about by natural processes.
Give me this one thing now. This creature doesn't exist right now, right? And the claim is that this creature and this creature and these people lived at the same time.
I know your belief is they don't.
But also, fundamentally, these people look to me like Northern Europeans, like Norwegians or Scandinavians. But people from the Middle East, their facial features aren't like that today.
But see, we don't know what Adam and Eve actually originally looked like.
So that would be historical science.
Oh yeah, of course it. I mean, I admit
You
that.
weren't there to see what they look like, so
Exactly.
you're inferring those
Yep,
facial features.
exactly. Just like you infer your particular views, and mine do come from a written source. It comes from the Bible.
Mine come from the evidence in
from a
nature.
record that claims to be from the God who created us all. Okay? Even though you don't believe that, it claims over 3,000 times to be the Word of God.
3,000 times in the book, the same book.
Oh yeah, it says this is the Word of God. Yeah.
So,
And it says God created a perfect world and man is in perfect marriage.
so in the perfect world, all of these creatures were vegetarians.
That's correct.
There was no predation.
That's correct.
There were no ecosystems as we know them today.
Well, they're different ecosystems.
I see. Everybody
Those
depended
ecosystems
on
are-
plants.
Yes, plants and fruits.
So
Genesis 1:29
Your
and 30.
claim, just literally, is that there were stegosauruses, brontosaurus or apatosaurus, this mammal, this other mammal with these big fangs, and this cat with a lynx-like cat with the fangs all coexisted, and they were all vegetarian.
Yeah, there's lots of animals today that have sharp teeth that are vegetarian too, as you know. And
They don't look quite like this.
that God made the first marriage. No, they don't look quite like this. And you know why? Because God says God made kinds. Since Noah's Ark, when the kinds came off the Ark, we've had a lot of speciation within a kind. See, that's why you were wrong when you said all the species couldn't fit in the Ark, because species, again, kingdom, family, class, order, family, genus, species is man-made classification system. And the Bible uses the Hebrew word min, which means kind, and we would say kind, from the research we've done, is more akin to the family level classification. You know, dogs, a lot of research done. You can show all these species of dogs, you can connect them all, and obviously the dog family is probably the kind level. And so he only needed 2 dogs on the ark, not the different species.
So we're very skeptical of that on the outside.
Oh, you can be skeptical, that's fine. But what we're
Just
saying
on the
is...
outside, there isn't enough time.
Actually, you know what? One of our
speciation.
scientists, Dr. Nathaniel Jensen, who you said was incompetent as a PhD from
much.
Harvard University, he's actually done a lot of work on genetics and shows we actually can have speciation occurring very rapidly. Would you be prepared for me to send you one of his papers? So you can
I've
look
read
at it?
his papers.
Oh, and so you just don't believe them, right?
Well, I think he's got it wrong. He cherry picks. I'm sure he's got it wrong.
So
I'm not a full-time geneticist, but I can certainly see that he's got it wrong.
okay, let me ask you this question. If we're just an animal,
Just an animal? What's better than being an animal?
Okay.
It's marvelous. As animals, we're able to understand the cosmos and our place within it. It's worth celebrating.
Okay,
What do you mean, just an animal?
so we
For crying out
came
loud.
from animals, right? We're
Yes.
not made in the image of God.
I don't know. I've never met him or her.
Okay. So
I've looked.
We actually have a zoo, and we have some animals in the zoo. Now, none of them wear clothes, and you do. Well, I'm pleased you do, by the way. I'm really pleased you do. None of them wear clothes. Why do humans wear clothes?
To keep warm, protect ourselves from the sun.
Okay,
Fantastic technology that enabled us.
Okay.
There are parts of the world where people don't wear clothes.
That's true, they don't. But you know what? Right now it's really hot. So sure, if it's just to keep warm, when it's hot, should we take them off?
I don't really follow you, but generally most of us do take off clothes when it gets hot.
Yeah, but not in public.
It depends where you are, sir. I've traveled to parts of the world where people have no trouble taking their clothes off.
So would you have no trouble not wearing clothes?
In this environment, it'd be very difficult to not wear clothes because it snows here. It's cold.
Yeah, but it's not snowing now, it's hot.
So
right
where are you
now.
going with this? Tropical tribes don't wear clothes. As they migrate from the equator, they do.
Yeah.
Skin color depends on our ancestors.
But why do all these humans wear clothes? Why do humans wear clothes? I mean, the bulk of humans wear clothes.
That's because there's so many humans. Where are you going with this?
God gave clothes because of sin.
God gave clothes.
Yeah, he did.
What evidence
was-
do you have that
it was the
God
fa-
gave us clothes?
The fact that animals don't wear clothes. You say we're animals. No other animal wears clothes.
Okay, can you name another animal that lives both in the tropics and in the Arctic?
Yeah, but when you're living in the summer, living in the winter, you could take them off, put them on. We have the ability to change and put them on and off.
Birds fly south.
Yeah.
Birds have much more plumage in the winter than they do in the
It's
summer.
summer right now, so everyone can take their clothes off right now.
Some parts of the world where they do, sir.
You know, there's a moral basis for it. Because what you're giving me is just opinion. There's no reason, therefore...
It's not my opinion that there are places in the world where people don't wear clothes. That's not my opinion.
But right now, you're just giving me opinions as to why we wear clothes or don't. You're talking about weather. You don't have a basis for it.
I don't have a basis for why people wear clothes?
No, you don't have a moral basis for it.
A moral basis. Here's another thing we disagree about, everybody. People in the scientific community claim that what we feel is a result of evolution. So that we have sympathy for each other, that we get angry with each other, that we work very hard to raise our children, provide them with resources, is deep within us. It's part of who we are. It is not a result of a top-down issuance of laws. That's the claim in science. And we observe this in other species.
Okay, I'll let you say that. You know what, young people, and everyone here, God gave clothes because of sin. The fact that we're wearing clothes is a reminder that God killed animals and clothed Adam and Eve, the first blood sacrifices, are covering for their sin, pointing towards the fact that someday one would come to die for our sin, die for your sin, Bill, and die for mine, be raised from the dead, and offer a free gift of salvation, and he offers it to you too.
Thank you.
And you
I'm very skeptical that sin caused us to wear clothes. It may be. I'm very skeptical.
That's okay, but it is a reminder to you that God provides salvation through the Lord Jesus Christ. And if you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart God is raised from the dead, you'll be saved. And you'll be like so many of these people here.
So my understanding, you were not born again, were you? You just started with this. Were you born again? Jimmy Carter was here recently, right?
Absolutely,
he was born.
I'm born again.
You were born again, okay.
Absolutely. If you're not born again, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. We're born of a woman, and then we're born again by the Spirit of God for those who receive that free gift of salvation. You can be born again too. You know what the Bible says? If you're not born again, you suffer a second death, which is eternal separation from God. And I'm not going to suffer that second death. Now, I don't want you to suffer that second death. I really don't, Bill.
I know you don't. I would prefer that you weren't indoctrinating young people with anti-science. But this gives us difference of worldview.
I want you to be born again too, so that...
I don't think it's going to happen, Mr.
See, when you die, you're not done. If you're not born again, you're going to be separated from God for eternity. I don't want that of you. God offers you a free gift of salvation.
As I asked you this earlier, what about people who have never heard of your ministry? What about people in other parts of the world, in Asia especially, who have no knowledge of your word, the book?
The Bible makes it very clear that everyone knows there's a God. It's evident. And God is a sovereign God. He takes missionaries to them. He takes His word to them.
So what happened all those millennia before? All those centuries before missionaries showed up? Those people are all condemned? It's a philosophical question. It's not really, I'm not a biblical scholar.
God gave man,
but it is something to stroke my chin about.
God gave man His word and promised us salvation right from the beginning. And that message, the Israelites were there as a people to preach to the world, to give them that message.
About,
and God showed Himself in all sorts of ways.
What about in Vietnam or Laos, where they never heard of this, ever?
There's a sovereign God who will take the message to them, and not only that...
But only very recently, only in the last 100 years or so.
Well, if you see...
So everybody before that was doomed? It's very troubling, Mr. But lead on, show me some more.
Bill, you won't listen.
I'm listening very carefully, sir. You're making extraordinary claims.
You know what the Bible says in Romans 1? You know, like everybody else in the world, it's evident there's a God. Because you haven't shown me any evidence that everything happened by natural processes. You know underneath it all there's a God. You know He created.
No, I don't. No, sir. I really have to disagree with you on camera.
That's fine. Okay, well, let's move in to the next room.
So, where we run into trouble is when we go to pass laws. So the founding fathers here in the United States agreed that we're not going to pass laws based on religions because of all the trouble they had sorting out...
Based on what?
Religion. Will not respect...
No, they didn't say that. They said that they wouldn't establish a state church.
They wouldn't make any laws that with respect to religion.
The establishment.
It means the setting up.
It means setting up the state as a church. Actually, the state is set up as a church.
This is your claim.
Yeah, because it's saying that you can't teach about God in the public schools, but you can teach we all came by
You
natural
can't
growth.
teach about God in science class. This is the...
Can I just ask you?
Let's from now on call it not supernatural class. You
Okay, so
cannot teach
I
about
know that you
miracles
I
and not
know
supernatural
you determined
class.
that you're not allowed to teach about God in the science.
In non-supernatural
in non-super-
class.
Okay, all right. So let me ask you a question. How do you determine what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad? On what basis? Like if these young people over here want to know what's right and what's wrong, how do you determine that?
Two ways. First of all, based on what I feel as a member of the human tribe.
So feelings, so they're subjective.
Absolutely.
So your
what
feelings,
we call subjective,
okay, but your
we
feelings,
call a result of altruism.
so your
and what we
your
feel.
feelings could be different to somebody else's feelings.
So the second thing is
Correct? Your feelings could be different to somebody else.
The
So somebody
second
can have a
thing-
different morality to you.
different morality. I'm open-minded, but a little skeptical. A different view of a specific event.
Okay, so if somebody said to you, I think types like you are dangerous, I want to get rid of you, would you say that's right or wrong?
It depends. Okay? And here's the second thing. Do you remember I mentioned there were two things? The second thing is we establish laws by consensus.
By consensus.
Our tribe gets together and decides what's right and wrong.
Okay.
We
so-
know that we agree on degrees of rightness and wrongness. A
Okay,
parking
so-
ticket not as serious as running somebody over with your car.
So there could be a different consensus by a different group.
Absolutely, and this process is what we call.
You just said absolutely, but that's an
Okay,
absolute.
very much,
You said an absolute.
very much. We determine this by our legal system. And tribes all over the world have legal systems and legal traditions.
Well, I can see we're not really getting anywhere, and I know what time it is. I had some other meeting. I know you did too.
I'm here for you, Ken, Mr. Ham. I
well-
wanted to see your facility.
Well, do you want to walk down to the next deck?
Yes,
Okay.
sure. I'm great. Non-supernatural class.
How did God create us? Well, you know what? As an infinite being, we don't know how He created. The Bible says He spoke and it happened. Because He
So these
it's
are
an infinite
room
power.
for future exhibits here?
Yes. Infinite power, infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom. And He's able to speak everything into existence. How did He raise Jesus from the dead? How did Jesus raise Lazarus? Because He is all powerful, because He's the infinite creator God.
So, yeah, it's good to be here. So, young woman, I would say to you that there's a process that humans have developed over millennia by which we know nature. And we call that science. And I hope the big thing in science is questioning things.
So are you telling
It's
this
not
little
taking
are you telling
people's
this little
word.
girl that she is just an animal?
The word just, I disagree with. She's a wonderful, beautiful animal.
I believe with Ken.
Say again?
I believe with Mr. Ham.
Okay, so as you grow older, I encourage you to look at the world around you and make your own judgments. I may be wrong, and you can decide for yourself.
You know, the scripture says, from the mouth of babes and sucklings, she knows there's a God. You know too.
So I disagree with you, Mr. Ham. So as you get older, just look at the world. I really encourage you to go to college sometime. Just make that a
I went
goal.
to college too. Did you know that? We have lots of scientists that went to college, and they believe in God just like we do.
They have far fewer than we do on my side, by a factor of
So we've already talked
millions.
about kinds and species.
But as I say, and also, young woman, the thing to really be concerned about is human-caused climate change. And one of the things Mr. Ham has in his worldview is that human-caused climate change is not important.
Oh, no. We didn't say it's
let
not
me understand
important.
this.
We
This
never
is-
said human climate change.
These animals
if,
are.
If humans can do things to pollute the world, humans should be doing their best to look after the world, but use it for God's
So
glory
what
and man's good.
species? What species do we
You
have?
know, I forget the name of these. Actually,
So the male has tusks
we've
and
got
the-
labels to go on here that we haven't got on here yet. Some of
The
these.
place I saw, the place isn't quite finished.
Right, it isn't.
The
quite.
hull isn't quite done.
So yeah, it's a massive undertaking, and we got it to the stage where we could have occupancy and
So what is the function of Crosswater Canyon?
the function of Crosswater Canyon, it's a board of directors who look after the Ark Encounter for Answers in Genesis.
But they're not for profit, right?
Yeah, they're not for profit. Yeah.
But Answers in Genesis and this building are for profit.
Well, this is actually, from an IRS perspective, it's a flow-through from Answers in Genesis through Crosswater Canyon, so it's viewed as a not-for-profit, but we set it up as a for-profit so that we pay property taxes so that we help the community.
And this is also, yes, you had a question? Did you just say?
How many species of animals do you think were on the ark?
See, I'm very skeptical that you could get any boat big enough to carry enough species to populate the world. I don't think it's true. This is what he and I disagree about. I think it's humans made it up, and it's not consistent with what we know, what you'll be exposed to in science class, where there's no supernatural explanations.
Absolutely.
All the explanations
That's why we built this.
for the world around us in science class are provided
Based on
by
the
what we
dimensions of the world,
observe.
help people understand how real
What
it was
we
and how big it
run
is.
experiments to as you get older. And I really encourage you to go to college or university sometime.
So is Noah's Ark much more bigger than you think it is? Thought it was?
No, I saw it on the electric internet.
Okay. So it's massive, isn't it?
It's massive. It's concrete and steel brackets. Has a lot of rivets. I saw a lot of Phillips head screws.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going down this way.
Varnished lumber that was polished with, I believe, electric tools.
Don't you think it's an engineering marvel, architectural marvel, even if nothing else?
It's okay.
And built by creationists, designed by a creationist.
Yeah. To me, that's not a good thing, Mr. Ham. It's a squandering of our intellect and treasure. These people could have been doing something great instead of
They are doing something great. They're doing something with purpose and meaning. They're doing this to be able to tell the world the truth about God's word and the gospel. Isn't that wonderful?
Not to me, no. So
you would rather us tell them that when they're dead, they're done. I mean, that was your phrase.
I'd rather you told them the discoveries that have been made by scientists over the last few thousand years.
So here's what I don't understand. I still don't get it. Is why you get so upset with us telling people about God creating us and about who we are, that we're sinners and we're separated from God.
I didn't say you were a sinner.
I did.
Oh, okay, well, that's your
I'm saying you're upset with us telling people about that, and because of that, that's why we die. But we're made in the image of God, so we have a soul
I don't have
that's
that
going to live
cause and
forever.
effect in my worldview, sir.
Okay, I understand that. But you're upset with us telling people about that, yet one day, when they're all dead, they're done. I still don't get it, why you get so upset about it.
Here's what I think it might be. You're afraid of the future.
I am?
You're afraid, yeah. That's what
I'm not afraid.
You're afraid of...
I'm not afraid at all.
What may happen.
Oh,
So
I know
you've
what's going to happen.
created
I'm going to
worldview.
go to be with my Creator forever. I'm not afraid.
I'm open-minded, but do you see that people on the outside have, from a non-supernatural standpoint, shown that your worldview could not possibly have happened? This is what we find so troubling.
But I keep asking you, how do you know?
We disagree. You create these two things you call historical science and observational science. In the mainstream, there's no such thing.
No,
it's all science.
Because from your worldview perspective, you don't want to admit you have any beliefs. You don't want to admit that
Our beliefs are based on evidence. That's the difference.
Well, no, they're not.
Scripture.
Your beliefs determine how you interpret the evidence.
I disagree with you completely. So understand that as soon as you go back, it sounds like you have to me, it sounds like a deeply inconsistent view.
Okay. Well, what's inconsistent? I mean,
You're
you tell me
okay.
why I'm inconsistent, okay, and then I'll tell you why I think you're inconsistent.
You're fine with forensic evidence used by detectives or laboratory technicians, but you're not good with forensic evidence provided by geologists or radiochemists or geneticists. That evidence is not good enough for you. But somehow the other stuff that contemporary that you were alive for has more meaning, or you accept it. In science, in non-supernatural class, they're of a piece. Radiometric dating, genetics, the process of genetic change, that's all one piece, as well as the crime scene. but for you they're somehow separate, and that is inconsistent with the modern definition of science, of non-supernatural class.
Okay, so if you let me speak now, with forensic science, you can come in and test for blood in the present, and you can come in and find a murder weapon, and you can even find fingerprints, and then you can actually go and test somebody else's, and you can test the blood for DNA, and you can test their blood for DNA.
So if the pteranodons were vegetarians, why'd they have to be in cages?
Phil, I said I'd let you speak.
No, well, you took us to an exhibit.
I said I'll let you speak, and then you let me speak. Okay. So, with forensic science, you can test the blood. You could even test it for DNA. You can test for fingerprints. Then you can go and find a person and test their blood and test the DNA against it. And you can also test their fingerprints and compare them. And forensic science can actually, using those processes in the present, determine that, hey, this is a guilty person because this is his DNA and these are his fingerprints. But that's very different. It's very different to saying, well, billions of years ago, when we weren't here, or millions, hundreds of millions of years ago, when we weren't here, somehow life formed in some primeval soup. You can't test that like that. So it's very different. So forensic science has limits too, because they can actually misinterpret and sometimes put the wrong person in jail. Even that has limits. But when you're going back to when you don't even have it in front of you, you can't test it. That's what I'm trying to say, and that's what I was saying in the debate. That's very, very different than using your 5 senses in the present.
It's not different at all. You're using your 5 senses to determine what happens with potassium and argon, using your 5 senses to determine sedimentation rates in rocks, using your senses to determine the rate at which snow compacts into glacial ice.
Well, let me try it one other way.
Using your 5 senses.
One other way. You and I go to the Grand Canyon. Just imagine we did.
I've been there.
We could have a great time. Hey, can you be friends with me?
I don't think so, Mr. Ham, not in the conventional sense.
I can be friends with you.
I will respect you as another member of our tribe.
Okay, as another member of our tribe.
But
I can love you as a human being, Phil. I can.
If you were in some danger of drowning, I'm sure I would save you as a member of the tribe.
As a member of the tribe,
You're not
but you
somebody I'm
couldn't. You couldn't be
consult
friends.
for
You couldn't be friends
worldview.
with. You couldn't be friends with me.
I think I know what you're driving at.
No, we could be friends and we could write to each other, email each
We
other.
can be respectful of each other.
Okay, we'll be respectful of each other.
So let me ask you this.
Okay, so let me first of all. So we're not friends, but we go as acquaintances to the Grand Canyon, and we go down and we see the Coconino sandstone. You agree that we could measure how thick it is?
Yes.
You agree we could measure the diameter of the grains?
Yes.
And get the average diameter?
Sure.
You agree that we could look at it and say, when it's got grains like this, we could actually test them chemically and say, this is a sandstone?
I guess so, yes. Now can we agree when it was put there? That's where we don't agree.
That's exactly the point. You didn't see it being laid down.
No, neither did you.
Neither did I. You're quite right. But then what we can do is look at some of those layers and we can see cross-bedding, and the more we, and we see the way in which the layers are formed, and we see it's more consistent with being laid down by water.
Sandstone was probably laid down by water, yes.
So, but we didn't see how long.
Yes, we do see how long. That's where we disagree.
So when I look at the sandstone, do I see a label that says, this is how long we took to be laid?
Almost.
We do?
This one's older than that one. The ones above it are younger than the ones below it. We work backwards from top to bottom.
But
how do you think this works? How do you think we all figure this stuff out?
How do you know how long it took for it to lay down? Could it have been laid down quickly?
This is the fundamentals in geology. We study the sedimentation rate of the Colorado River. We work our way backwards.
But if there was a lot more water in the past, you could have had layers form quickly, right?
I follow what you're saying, but there's no evidence for that.
But that could have happened.
No.
It couldn't?
It did not happen. There was not a worldwide flood 4,500 years ago.
We've actually seen floods in the present. I've seen them in Australia where they lay down layers extremely quickly.
They don't turn to sandstone, and they're not under the other rocks above them.
No, but we didn't see that form, did we?
No, but we inferred that it happened.
Inferred.
We figured out. You prefer figured out without supernatural causes. Well, let me ask you about these cages. So if these pteranodons were not predatory, Why did they need to be in a cage? Why didn't Noah just let these guys wander around? What evidence do you have that there were cages?
Well, the Bible told Noah to make, the word really means nests, to make places for them to be able to exist, to live.
And you just took it another step and made some nice wooden cages.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
With Amish craftsmen.
Yeah. They did a great job, didn't they? Can you come around here? Let's look at
Depends
one
what
last
you mean
thing.
by great.
I hope you're not denigrating the Amish craftsmen, by the way.
They're fine craftsmen.
They are, and they're wonderful people.
But
And they believe in God.
be that as it may, the earth is not 6,000 years old.
Okay, okay. So, this is deck one.
Because somebody's not a bad person. Oh yeah,
Mind if my kids
yeah,
get
yeah,
a quick
yeah.
selfie for their birthday? Thank you.
Cool. Here's what we do. So look at the lens. That's the trick. Don't look at yourself. Also, you'll see the number of cracks. You can tell the age of the owner by the number of cracks. And in math, we'd say it's inverse. The more cracks, the younger the person. Grown-ups don't have cracks because we know how much phones cost. Yeah, are you in this? Yeah. So look at the lens, that little dot. Don't look at yourself. Blah! So now I want you to do it. See how I'm holding it? With these two fingers, you try it.
You're a pro at science.
So try it, yeah, but like that. With your index, then you can touch with your thumb. There, get it out. There you go. Yeah, see, people squeeze it. Here, you do one. People squeeze it, and then they shake the phone. It gets out of focus. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Here, look, right there. Hey. Cool. Good job, you
Bill,
guys.
thank you.
Yeah.
Nice
Cool.
to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you. They let you in? It's crazy. Yeah. Come on in. Here, yeah, this will be, the light's good. So, hey, camera woman, go on that side. That's not her real name. Hey. Did she do it? Grown-ups with phones, man. We could be here all night.
Yeah.
You think she, yeah, okay, cool. You just touch it, Mom.
Can I get a quick selfie?
Yeah, reach out. So here, I was just showing her.
Yes.
So watch, go ahead, take a picture. So now try it, holding it like that. See what I mean? Try that with those two fingers.
Like that?
Now touch the dot with your thumb and look over here. Because what happens when you squeeze it, you shake the phone, it gets out of focus. Yeah, so the light's good this way. So here we go. Reach out, get her in the middle. Look at the lens over here, the little dot. Hey.
Hey, one more question for you.
Yes.
I want everyone to come in here. Everyone can follow us.
No, come on, you guys. They had a lot of space.
So we have Noah. Noah's praying with his family before the flood. Would you let me pray before we part?
Go ahead, yeah.
That's okay?
Yeah. I mean, if that makes you feel better.
Would you let me pray for you?
I can't stop you, Mr. Ham.
Okay.
While you're doing that, I'm going to be wishing like crazy that you all go to universities and learn about the worldview associated with science.
I just want to say a short prayer. A gracious, loving Heavenly Father, we come before you as the creator of the universe, and we're going to thank you and praise you for who you are, what you've done in creating us. We know that we, in Adam, sinned against you and that we're fallen creatures, and we know that death is a consequence, but you stepped into history in the person of your Son to save us so that we can spend eternity with you. I pray for Bill. Pray you'd open his heart to the truth of your word and that he would not suffer that second death. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Here's hoping you all learn about the process of science, the best idea humans have ever had. And I hope you learn about the cosmos and our place within it. And celebrate, if nothing else, the Juno spacecraft, which for just barely $1 billion, we put in orbit around Jupiter, just on celebrating July 4th. And the people who planned that mission launched it on August 5th, 2011, knowing precisely that they could put this thing in orbit on the 4th of July. It's fantastic. It brings out the best in us. Science brings out the best in us.
Aren't you all pleased you came to the Ark on the second day of opening, and we had a walkthrough with Bill Nye the science guy. Hey, thank you, Bill. Thanks for coming and taking up my offer.
So, you know, Mr. Ham and I disagree. To whom is she pointing?
Sorry.
There you go. Perfect. 1, 2, 3. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Hi, you guys. Cool.
We watched your movie just.
Right on.
Yeah.
Which one? Seriously,
We watched
guys?
your movie
Here, look.
when we came here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Which one were you watching?
We watched the weather one.
With storms?
Yeah, I did Earthquake.
With the guy sitting. Earthquakes is a good one.
1, 2, and 3.
With the camera guy, Arlo, they're eating an apple, shaking the camera. It's funny. It was funny.
I saw that one.
It's cool. Blow it up. Blow it up.
I brought my youth group back. Thank you. Just get a picture.
Carry on, you
Go and
guys.
do that.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that 2 hours. It was rather grueling and it was very exhausting actually as I walked through with Bill Nye. But what I wanted you to really see was how I foundationally kept challenging him, pushing him to the consequences of his own foundation, of his own worldview, challenging his worldview. And so we talked, as you saw, to each other for about 2 hours. I was able to witness to him and presented the gospel very, very clearly to him, as I'm sure you saw. And at the end, I prayed for him. And that's the challenge I want to leave with each one of us, that we continue to pray for Bill Nye, that the Lord would open his heart to the truth. I know he said some interesting statements, like it's not crazy to think we're descendants of Martians. When you die, you're done. And right and wrong is determined by a consensus of the tribe. But, you know, you can understand why he has that worldview, because he rejects the God of the Bible, and his starting point is that man determines truth. So let's agree to pray specifically for Bill, and I really want us to do that, because can you imagine someone like Bill Nye, his heart being opened to the truth of God's word and the gospel? It'd be like Saul becoming Paul. And of course, we want to see that for every single person on this earth. But because this night was the 2-hour walkthrough with Bill Nye, let's pray specifically for Bill Nye. Oh, by the way, some people have asked, can they get hold of the DVD? Actually, you can, and we will put that information there so that you can order the DVD or get a digital download of that 2-hour video. Again, I encourage you to pray for Bill Nye.